Hey y'all, so this is my plaid tutorial. Um, I'm doing it this way with a voiceover just so I can speed it up because it is a long process. It took me probably 2.5 hours to complete this cup, and I didn't figure you want to sit through all that. So, what I'm doing now is I have electrical tape. I'm using electrical tape because it's 3.25 inches wide. And the cup that I'm using is actually like 22 ounces. I think it's a travel mug. Um, and I thought that it needed to have a thinner stripe. If you're doing like a 30 ounce, then you would probably want to use the blue electrical tape, the blue painter's tape, like what I have up in the corner there. I just brought both of them out so I could show you, and then I ended up cutting the part out where I showed you. But anyways, so what I'm doing is I just took a length of it that would be enough to go all the way from top to bottom and then around the bottom and back down. So for me, this is the easiest way to do it because you're doing both sides at once. So you're effectively kind of splitting the cup in half at this point. And then, so you'll be able to see in just a second, I'll put another strip down, get out the same amount of tape, roughly whatever. And then I'll lay it in the complete perpendicular to it. So I'll make an X on the bottom, right? And then I'll fill in the other two sides. And then that will create a relatively evenly spaced plaid design. Or stripe design, actually, at the moment. But it's not going to be perfect, because the only way you're going to get it perfect is if you get your ruler out and start measuring, which I am not about to do. That's too much work. So I just, here I'm taking the second piece. This is what I was talking about. I'll create an X on the bottom. And you just try to line it up the best you can. This is really eyeballing it. In the end, a plaid is so really busy that you're not going to notice if it's just a little bit off. But just try to do your best. I mean, I try to line it up as good as I can, but I'm not going to spend all day on it. Okay, so now that that's on there, I'm just going to smooth it out. And I'll turn it so that you can see. Just a second. So I kind of have like the 4 points there. You can see they're pretty evenly spaced, and I have an X on the bottom. Now I'm going to go ahead and speed it up a little bit so that you don't have to watch this. You've got the basics already. It's going to be exactly the same. I'm just going to split those two and make another X on the bottom. And I chose this particular cup because it does have a taper to it, which I knew would probably get a lot of questions. Instead of just doing like a straight-sided skinny or whatever like that. So yes, whenever you look at it, your top squares are going to be bigger than your bottom squares, but if you do this method, you really don't notice it that much. I think it still looks really good. I do kind of pull the tape just a little bit so that it kind of stretches a little. That's the beauty of using the electrical tape as well, because it does have a little bit of stretch to it. But really, don't worry about it. It's going to look great in the end, even though once you get past that that curve, it's going to be a little bit smaller, and your squares won't be perfectly, they won't be squares at all on the bottom. They'll be more like rectangles or whatever. But it'll still look really good. Okay, so now that we have the vertical stripes done, we need to do the horizontal stripes. So what I'm doing is I'm going to start at the bottom. You might want to start at the top if you want to have a completely full square at the top, just to make sure. I didn't really care. It's gonna, like I said, it's busy. It's gonna look good no matter what. But if you're really into having that perfect square at the top, then start at the top and work your way down. I'm using the line, you know, from the cap that fits on the bottom. I'm using that as my starting point. So I'm just taping all the way around. And it's actually a little bit smaller than the width of my tape. So the tape is kind of like curving over the edge a bit, which is good because it'll kind of stop any getting anything on the bottom at the first point. But really, there's a lot of kind of fiddly work with it. So if you get some on the bottom, it doesn't matter. Okay, so I have the first row on, and then what I'm going to do is put the second row on right next to it so that I can get even spacing all the way. I think that's the best way. And this piece here that I just cut, I'm going to put that on and put a tab on it so that I can pull it off really easy. Because what I'm going to do is, after I put this third row on, I'm going to go back and take that second row off. And then I'm just going to keep using that same piece of tape down the cup because that's just my spacer. And that you can do that to save a little bit of your supplies. Otherwise, you would have to use a piece of tape for every single space that you're just going to pull off and throw away before you even get started anyways. So that's what I'm doing now. Obviously, I sped it up a little bit. If you have any questions, obviously, just post them below and I can answer those, or I can even slow it down some if you don't understand what I'm doing during these high speed ones. Okay, so here all I'm doing is filling the little gaps that are left on the bottom. I really don't think you need to do this. Personally, I probably won't do it next time. I was just kind of in the taping mode and I just went ahead and did it. So you can see all of the areas that kind of have a matte look to them. That's the actual paint. So you will have squares showing whenever you get done with that step. And here I'm just taking my little silicone stir stick and I'm pushing down all of those corners or the connections of the tape. Just make sure they're all flat so that whenever you go to put your Mod Podge on, it's not like seeping up underneath there. And what I'm doing there with the X-Acto knife is you can, I wanted to show you that you could cut each individual square of tape out if you're too scared to do it the way I'm going to do it, which is just kind of freehand. So if you want, you can just follow along those edges of the tape and just cut each individual one out and just leave it there. You know, don't pull it up, but just leave it there so that you can pull one square of tape up at a time. So, and I'll touch on that again later whenever we get to the part where you're actually pulling tape up. So like I mentioned, maybe like a week ago, I guess, or whenever the box first came out, the mods are going to start doing a kind of just show you the box and show you what you can do with it. So the cup today was made with stuff that was completely from the box. It was only 2 colors, but I really wanted to do this plaid. So I'm just showing you everything that came in the box, in my box. Sometimes they're a little bit different. They have different stuff, but this is what I got. So I'm just going through that. You've probably already seen the pictures on the website or the group page anyways. But I thought I'd show you. Okay, so now we're going to get started on the glitter. What I'm using is the royal purple and the black that was in the box. So I have 3 cups here. I'm going to empty the black and the purple into separate cups, and then I'm going to make a mix of the two. I went a little bit heavier, I think, on the black than I did the purple, but I don't know. You can just make a mix that looks like the two of them combined. You know, if you have like a lighter color and you're using that light color in black, you want to use less black because the black will take over really quickly. But I was going for Halloween and this dark purple and the black, so I wanted it to be a little bit darker. So this color is going to be your main color on the cup because it's where the cross sections are. So if you have a stripe of the purple going down and it intersects with the stripe of the black, then you're going to have the mix of those two colors in that spot. So you'll understand what I'm saying a little bit more once we get started. I'll show you. So yeah, I'm just gonna take my little scoop here and mix up a pretty dark black purple color. Okay, so I have a piece of paper out now to catch the what falls off. And what I'm doing right now is just trying to decide which color I want to start with. Whatever you start with is going to be your least seen color. So I decided to go with the black because I wanted the purple to really stand out in those bigger squares. So you can see I'm kind of pointing that they're going to be smaller sections. So I went ahead and went with the black. And then I'm just going to show you a row or two. I don't remember where I cut it off at, but I'm just going to show you like one little section. And then I'll speed it up so you don't have to sit and watch me do that every time. Oh, I was showing you can either put it on your hand, which I found was easier than gripping the PVC pipe, or you can put it on a football and just do it however you want to. Okay, so I think I'm about to get started here. Okay, so that's just Mod Podge. I used, I think, the hard coat one or something like that. It doesn't really matter, just Mod Podge. So all I'm doing for this part, it's super simple. This is the easiest part of the whole thing. I'm just filling in those areas that are just spray paint. Like they don't have any tape there. They're the ones that are a little bit more matte than you can see the tape is kind of shiny. So I'm just slapping it on there. You don't really even have to do anything special. You don't have to be careful or anything like that. I do an entire row and then put the glitter on. You do have to work a little fast. So if you've ever worked with Mod Podge, you know how fast it dries. So you have to be a little bit quick with it. When I get into the other sections, other colors, you'll notice I don't do very many squares at a time because it takes longer to get it. You have to be more precise with it. You'll see what I mean in a second. Okay, so here we go. I'm speeding it up now. I just like to dot on Mod Podge in each section and then go back and spread it out. You want to make sure you're getting all the corners. Okay, so here I'm just kind of brushing it off a little bit. Trying to save as much glitter as possible, just getting it off of the tape. And then I'm going to start peeling off. And I do go out of frame a little bit. Sorry, it's hard whenever you have a camera up above you to know if you're in frame or not. And some of it's a little bit meticulous work, so I tried my best to stay in frame. So what I'm doing there is just trimming the bottom because those pieces that I was talking about that I probably won't do again in the future were covering up my tape and they were trying to all pull off. So I just kind of trimmed them a little bit to get it. So what I'm pulling off is the horizontal stripes, and you want to just go ahead and pull them all off. So that's what I'm doing there. Let's see. Hopefully I slowed this down. Okay, yeah. So at this point, we're done with the black. So now we're going to go in with the mix. So for the mix, basically, at this point is going to be all of the spots that are not covered with glitter or tape. So you do kind of have to cut it in because it's there's no tape protecting it. Like, so whenever you're butting it up to the black that's already there, you have to be a little bit careful that you're not just slathering it on. And try not to go too thick with your Mod Podge. You know, but honestly, you don't really even have to worry too much about having like lumps and bumps, like streaks and stuff. It's not really going to show. And if you do have like something that is pretty thick, just kind of pat it down a little bit, and it'll be fine. Okay, so I kind of started doing this, but doing the whole row, but it kind of dried a little at the top. So you'll see me, if it isn't cut off, you'll see me going back to the top there, and I have to put a little bit more Mod Podge on and sprinkle more glitter. And it was cut off, so you didn't get to see that, but I did that. Okay, so I'm just gonna speed through this, and like I said, this is the mix now of the purple and black. Okay, so now I just need to peel all of the tape off the bottom, and I'm going to start removing all of the stripes that are going vertical. So just look at the bottom of your cup, and you can see which one came on first, or is the top layer. You don't want to try to pull one of the ones from the bottom layer because it's just going to make a mess, and you don't really want your tape hitting the raw glitter on the sides, you know, because it could like stick to it and pull it up. So just make sure you're pulling the right line of tape. Okay, so this is what I would consider the hardest part of the entire process. So now what we have are stripes that are glittered and stripes that are completely blank. And now we don't have that cross tape to show us where to go. So what I'm doing right here is I'm pointing to the black. So basically you want to make a box around the black. So if you have wherever the black is, you want all four sides to be touching mixed. I hope that makes sense. So you would have your black in the middle, and then on the top, bottom, and each side, of that, you're going to have your mixed glitter. So it would be completely like diagonal to where you would put the purple. So both of your main colors, you just want to make sure that they're completely surrounded by the mixed color. And if it's the first time you're doing this, I would recommend either having your phone out or a picture or something that you can look at of like a buffalo check. That's what this is called, a buffalo check or a buffalo plaid. Have a picture out so that you can look at it and see where the mix should be. It'll make a lot more sense and you'll get less confused if you do it that way. At least, I would. The first time I did it, I had a picture of it out for me to look at. So what you have to do, why this is the hardest part, is you have to create that box. You just basically have to line it up where your section should be. And I like using an angle brush for this. You can use anything that's flat edge. Don't use a rounded brush. It's not going to work and you're going to hate it because you can't get into those corners. So you have to really kind of draw out that box. And that's why I only do 1 or 2 squares at a time, because the time it takes me to get a nice clean line, the Mod Podge would dry. So right now I'm just doing the mixed glitter still. So see, that's why I said it's going to be the most prevalent color on your cup, because it is in both rows or columns, I guess you could say. It's with the black and it's also with the purple. So you're going to get the most of that. So make sure it's a mix that you really like the combo of. Okay, so once again, I'm just going to brush off the excess glitter as carefully as I can. Start with the first row that you did and then kind of move towards the last row. Just give it a little bit of time, that Mod Podge a little time to really kind of set up a little bit. So now we're going to move on to the purple. So basically at this point, you just fill in all the spaces that are left. Just remember that your purple should, on all sides, should be touching mixed glitter. So, but like I said, is basically fill in the blank at this point. Okay, so for this part, I am going to put it on a football because I want to do the bottom of the cup. You don't have to do the bottom of the cup if you don't want to, but I like glitter, so I'm going to do the bottom. I'm actually going to use the mix. I really like the mix. That was my favorite part of it. So I'm just using Mod Podge and going around the bottom. You guys know how to do this part. Um, so I'm just going to sprinkle the glitter on, and then I'm actually going to press it down into what has fallen onto my little sheet of paper there, just to get a good coat. I did notice as I was doing this that I'm going to have to go back through and do another coat, and you would do it the exact same way, except for without tape, obviously. So you would just go back in and kind of trace your boxes. You already have your the shape and design set up. You just need to go back in and put a little bit of Mod Podge on there and just do another coat of glitter. I don't have to, but there are some spots that I would rather have a little bit more glitter on there. But as long as you base coat it, you really can get away with just one. And it's not the glitter that's the problem. Most likely it's that you let the Mod Podge dry a little too much. You took too long to put the glitter on it, and it just didn't stick. So that is just about it. I think I'm fixing to show you the final clip, and that's how you do a plaid. Thanks for watching, guys.